Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It has been a while since I've done a match preview show. Such was the mood around the football club in the run-up to the festive period. I decided to take a break and just concentrate on the fun and games of the match day lives. And I say fun and games in the loosest sense of the term. But we are back with a match preview show. It is the magic of the cup this Saturday. The Gills will take on Brendan Rodgers Leicester live on BBC One at 12:30. And I'm pleased to say that I am joined by Tom Hoger, a Leicester City fan and host of Leicester City TV. I will put Tom's details in the description at the bottom of this video. So go and have a check out of Tom's Twitter page. I've been on his channel for a little chat as well. So go and check that out in the run out to the game. I'm sure Tom will tweet and tag me in. So I will retweet that onto the timeline and put it on the Facebook page, etc. But first of all, Tom, appreciate you coming on for a chat.
No problem at all, mate. Oh, we talked about it, didn't we, in our chat earlier, and it is the magic of the FA Cup. And we also talked about the horror of being one of the big boys in the FA Cup, having to go to a lower league opposition, we call it, because we've been there and we've seen what can happen. Newport away a few years ago when we lost 2-1, and obviously the quarter-final in 2001 when we lost to Teletext striker Roy Estendo 2-1 at home to Wycombe, when really all Leicester fans were packing the bags, packing the cars, and think they were going to Manchester or Villa Park for a semi-final of an FA Cup, and we got eggs on our faces that day. So we know which way it can go.
That's it, and we have to remember that it's not a million years ago that these two clubs were playing in the same division, and we've all been the giant killers, and we've all been the giant killed as well. At some point, we've been the favourites in the first two rounds this season purely because we're the league team, and obviously we're going to be massive underdogs come the weekend, and that probably suit us better. We've got everything to gain and nothing to lose. And obviously it's the complete opposite for you. At this point in the show, I normally do sort of last six in the league, home and away form, but it's a cup game, so there's not much point looking at the league form. I've just worked out, you've played 3 cup fixtures this season. I don't like to moan with a small squad, but because you see the people like Jurgen Klopp wins that they have to play a couple of times in the week. This will be our 12th cup game of the season, and we're not even into the middle of January yet. We're relatively prolific. So just bear with me because we've already chatted about Gills' horrendous record in front of goal in the league, which we're not going to mention again. Gills fans have heard about it all season. But we scored 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 goals in 11 games in the cup. That's very prolific compared to what we're seeing in league football. This will somehow be the third time that we face a Premier League club this season. I'm not sure how we've managed that because we've been horrifically bad for pretty much the entire campaign. Just 3 cup games for the Leicester, though, Tom. Obviously, that was 2. No, that's all 3. What's it called now? Carabao Cup games.
Carabao Cup, League Cup, we'll call it.
Yeah, that's the easiest way. League Cup. Went to Stockport in the first round. Got held to a 0-0 draw, 1 on penalties. You then went and beat Newport at home comfortably, and then MK Dons away 3-0, the same scoreline in the third round. I think your next round is immediately after this game at the weekend, isn't it?
Tuesday night away to Newcastle. It's thick and fast this week. Away to Gillingham, away to Newcastle, and then away to Nottingham Forest. The games come thick and fast.
Who are winning, I think, currently, just to ruin Tom's.
1-0, and just looking at the table as it stands, Wolves are winning at Villa.
Leeds are winning as well.
Yeah, everyone's just been bumped up nicely, all on to 17 and 18 points. And from last couple of games, we think we're pulled away from the pack. We're now all back down there fighting and scrapping for our lives again. So
we don't have this issue, Gills fans, because there's no teams below us to be bumped up towards us. So it's not an issue that we have to contend with, unfortunately, at the moment. But you have to laugh, otherwise you cry. Just quickly on the league form, obviously it will have some bearing in terms of confidence and momentum. You've lost 4 of your last 6, having been in decent form before there, and you've lost 3 times on the bounce now. I think it's Newcastle, Liverpool, and recently Fulham in the week. You lost 1-0 at home. By all accounts, wasn't an awful performance. I think you had a lot of the ball, just couldn't stick it in the back of the net. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, the form itself, let's look back to the beginning of the season. We got 7 points from 7 games. What was a horrific start to the season.
West Ham have just equalised against Leeds to cheer you up.
Right. Yeah, 7 points from 7 games, and Brendan Rodgers, his head was on the chopping block. I drove. I live in Worcester in Redditch, and so I'm further away from Leicester than I'd like to be, but an hour and 15 minutes. I then drove all the way to Stockport on a cold Tuesday night and watched a ball ball 0-0. And in fairness, Stockport should have won the game in the 90 minutes. And it was only because of having a bit more quality on the pitch for the penalties that we went through. And
yeah,
I'll be honest with you, at the end of the game, the Leicester fans were chanting, "We want Rodgers out." And, you're getting sacked in the morning and pointing at him. He was very made aware that the fans had had enough and that the performance levels were awful. We then somehow beat Forest 4-0 and we thought, oh, we turned a corner. We then went to Bournemouth and lost. But then since that Bournemouth game, we turned a corner and we won 6 out of 7 games and pulled ourselves nicely away from the relegation zone in some ways.
Yeah.
Took ourselves up on 17 points and everyone seemed happy going into the World Cup. The something that I was concerned about was this break coming because I'd seen what had happened when we had the COVID break. We were flying at that point. At that point we were 3rd in the Premier League, and after that COVID break, we dropped off. We never came back the same team, and it cost us at the end of that season finishing 5th. This is very similar to that. We've not come back anywhere near the levels we had before. Obviously, the 3-0 defeat and 2-0 down after 10 minutes over to Newcastle, the fans were fuming. Half time, the boos rang out. At full times, the boos rang out because the performance was truly, truly shocking. You obviously go to Liverpool, you get yourself 1-0 up. 5 minutes into the game, create a couple more chances. And then your centre half goes and does the unthinkable and doesn't listen to your goalkeeper who's made the biggest shout of keeper in your life. And we could all hear it behind the goal, the shout, keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously slice it up over the top and into his net. And then you look, right, get to half time 1-1, take the positive. Liverpool aren't that good at the moment. We've seen that with how they played at Brentford. And then we're talking seconds before half time, your centre half decides to go and do the unthinkable again and get another own goal. And before you know it, you're 2-1 down and you've got to fight for yourself. The performance against Liverpool second half wasn't bad. It was once again, we didn't create enough chances and take those chances when we had them. Fulham, let's be honest, the first half was truly, truly awful. Probably up there with one of the worst performances of the season.
Okay.
It didn't help that, as we'll talk about injuries, 5 minutes before the teams were about to go in after the warm-up, Dewsbury had to go off, so he didn't make the starting lineup. He was subbed on. Wilfred Diddy came on. 10 minutes into the game, Boubakary Samari turns and goes to play the ball, pulls up, holds his hamstring. We have to bring the veteran on, Mark Albrighton. So you've lost your 2 midfielders who are your legs, your energy on the park, who like to get in there and tackle. You then give the ball away, and we all know at the moment Mitrovic is in fine form this season, scoring goals for fun. Second half, it was defence versus attack, but it was that little bit of quality we lacked. We hit the crossbar from Tielemans from a long way strike. Perez should have scored in the first half, if we're honest here, when he blazed one over from 5 yards out instead of side foot, and he put his lacy through it. It was just one of those nights, and I just sat there and I thought, we are not going to score. We could play 190 minutes, we could play 2 games, we are not scoring tonight. It was just not going to happen in front of goal. So the form in the last 3 games has truly, really killed us in some way compared to the World Cup, as in how much it's dragged us back into the relegation mix. What we pulled ourselves away from. And I think all Leicester fans were looking up the table more than down. And after the Liverpool game, it was very much as I tweeted before Fulham last night. This is a massive game. You lose and Forest win tomorrow night, and they're suddenly on the same points as we were, where 4 weeks ago we were 10 points clear of Forest. Yeah. It's changed that much over those 3 courses, and Forest picking up 2 or 3 good points and draws and wins themselves. So look, this is not a Leicester team at the moment that is flying. This is probably, in my view, a team that Gillingham could do as easily if they wanted to, because the confidence levels have shot. And sadly, at the moment, without James Maddison in our team, we don't look anywhere the shadow of the team that we were in that winning 6 out of 7 games. Because with him in the team, our creativity is, well, it's a second to none. We all see how good he was before the World Cup, and sadly he got an injury before the World Cup. I don't think he truly recovered. Obviously, he's come back to Leicester and he hasn't played a game yet, and it's really starting to affect the team. I think on the pitch you can see it. There's just that little bit of vision we are missing at the moment, and we get to the final third and that killer ball is just not there. It is just not there at the moment.
Interesting then as well. It's interesting you picked up on people that that are missing because of injuries picked up in recent games. So I want to go a bit further back, right back to the summer, because obviously Brendan Rodgers is a very good coach at this level. He learnt his trade at Chelsea, did well at Swansea, did a decent job at Liverpool, went to Celtic and won pretty much everything before taking the job with you guys. Is it fair to say that the transfer window held him back, because I think it was correct that he was the only team that didn't sign an outfield player in the summer transfer window.
So we ended up signing. Well, it's a tricky one because let's go back go about a year. This time last year, we played Forest in the FA Cup and we lost 4-1. And after that game, he came out and basically threw the players under the bus and said, "Yeah, this team needs a refresh. They've hit their peak. That's it."
And then you lost Kasper Schmeichel, Wesley Fofana in the summer as well, which are two very key players. Schmeichel obviously been there, won the Premier League. Fofana, one of the best up-and-coming centre-backs.
Yeah. So obviously that promise, it sounded like Leicester board had already given Brendan Rodgers a pot of money to go and buy players with. So we're all sitting there waiting around looking, right, first day back, by the sound of it, the board told Rodgers there was no money to spend and the club hadn't got no money to spend until, well, either Fofana deal went through or players left. Obviously, Kasper Schmeichel left 2 days before the start of the season. So Danny Ward then was the number one player. Rodgers shot himself in the foot by saying at the end of the season before that he had 2 number one goalkeepers. Now, Ward has improved a lot dramatically up to the point. The first 7 games, everyone was looking at, I think him in the Football League were laughing at him how poor the goals were going in. But, that 6 out of 7 wins, there was some very, very good performance from Danny Ward in there. He's a Welsh international. You don't become a Welsh international, played international football not for being a good goalkeeper. The only 2 signs we actually made in these summer transfer windows were Alex Smithy, the ex-Cardiff goalkeeper, QPR goalkeeper, as basically a backup goalkeeper for us. He knew what he was coming in as. It was going to be, you're here to support the lads, you're here to be the third choice goalkeeper. Sure. And Wout Faz, who we signed as the centre-half after Fofana had left. That is the only player we have signed for about 14, 15 million pound. There is talk, now we're into the January transfer, there is a bit of money to spend, but it's not going to be as big as pot as I think people were thinking we're going to spend. Today, the rumours come out, we are linked with a Danish under 21, 20-year-old left back from Copenhagen. Again, for me, I think we need to be looking at people who are proven in the Premier League. Someone said to me, well, who would you sign? I was straight honest, and up to the point that he only got injured a week and a bit ago, it was Matt Targett from Newcastle, who's not playing for them. He knows the Premier League off the back of hands, been playing for Villa and playing for Newcastle. He knows the game, and I would have got him on loan till the end of the season to cover, because let's not lie, at the moment, we've got Ricardo Pereira, who was 3 years ago, probably the best right back in the country. The Portuguese international was flying. He was probably going to be the right back, Portuguese right back international. He was that good, and teams are talking about buying him. You got James Justin, who's now having his second nasty injury, who we signed from Luton for £8 million. Again, was going to the World Cup, going to the Euros not long ago. He was that good. Got the injury against Brighton in the FA Cup season run, ACL. This year, he's against Newport, he went off, he's done his Achilles. He's now out for the season. So we've lost basically our 2 right back, and also Justin, who can play left back. We're down to Luke Thomas, who is only the only left back we've got in the club. For Cassania, who's the only right back we've got in the club. We are down to the bare bones in the full back position. What's quite scary for a Premiership team to say that now. You look at the centre-half position, we signed Vestergaard. It was a Rodgers signing from Southampton. Truly, truly awful. Ryan Bertrand comes in. He's played 4 or 5 games. He's been injured ever since he's been here. We've not seen him. We probably won't see him play ever again for Leicester. We thought we'd sign a bit of experience after let Christian Fuchs go that season. So there is money there, but it'll be interesting what Brendan does. But as you were talking about earlier, the fan base had just started to turn again after that 6 out of 7 game winning run.
Sure.
And to lose 3 in a row now, the fans are started to turn back to maybe Rodgers got a little bit out of the team, but now he's got to do it again, and he's got to do it again quickly this time, because the Premiership doesn't hide you. You are where you are in the league, and to see players like Perez last night saying, we're in a false place, we don't deserve to be where we are. There's not many Leicester fans who agreed with him. We are where we are. The table doesn't lie.
No, it doesn't, unfortunately. We know that all too well.
17 points, 18 games. Yeah. Iose, you're making a rod from your back here, mate, because we are where we are because we haven't won enough football games. And you can't keep saying we were unlucky, because that doesn't get you out of the position. So
no, it doesn't. That doesn't earn you points, unfortunately. We've said that there's games we've been in and we've been unlucky, or we switched off. But ultimately, if you switch off and you cost your games, you don't get points and you don't go up the table. So just wanted to touch on quickly before we get to what we think the teams are going to be come Saturday, midday. James Justin, remember watching live for Luton, 2018-19 season, I think, which was the last season before you signed him. Unbelievable talent, left foot, right foot, was taking all their corners, their set pieces, everything. They had another fullback as well. I think Jack Stacey was the other side.
Yes.
Who went to Bournemouth and played in the Premier League. They got relegated. Obviously, they've come back up now. But yeah, Luton had two of the best football league fullbacks at the time. They were unbelievable, the pair of them. And Justin, like you say, was on the verge of being a full England international, and it would have been great to see. Because it's always nice to see, especially when you watch a lower league team regularly, like I do, and you have done in the past. Because Leicester, it's not a million years ago that Leicester were in League One themselves. To see them rise up through the leagues. And then earn sort of the recognition that they deserve for that progress. But to the more immediate, Saturday afternoon, like you said, it's going to be live on the telly. So there is someone there for some reason thinks it might be an upset. Are we likely to see a lot of changes for Leicester? I know you've got injuries, but what do you think the team will be that's going to take on Gillingham?
I think Rodgers is probably at a point now. He hasn't really got much options to that. He's got to put mainly the first team out there at the moment. With the 9 injuries we've got, we're not sure when or how long Samari is going to be out for. I knew he was going to have a scan today, and they'll know later in the week where he's at. Jubril Hall was what did he have? Gluten, put tear or something possibly. So again, he could be out for a little time. It really is going to be much down to the bare bones we've got at the moment. I think it'll be Danny Ward in goal. Mm-hmm. He might play Everson. If he does, obviously, Everson was on loan at Preston. He got player of the season for Preston last year in the Championship. So he tells you the calibre goalkeeper he is.
Is that Daniel Everson?
Yeah, Daniel Everson.
Yeah, he's played in the EFL for quite a few years. Very good.
So obviously he could come in. They needed to, but I've got a feeling that he's probably going to stick with the team that he needs to try and get winning. Right back will be Cassagna. Left back will be Thomas, because he hasn't got any options not to do that unless he changes the formation. But he's very, very stubborn at changing any formation. That's one thing Leicester fans will say with Rodgers. He's stubborn and he won't go back to this 3-5-2 that won us the FA Cup a few years ago. We're playing Vardy and Iheanacho together. I'd say he will play. If he keeps the same two, then it'll probably be Wout Faz and Daniel Amati. There's possibly talk that Cassagna, Kaglos Soyuncu could come into the back line and Vestergaard and give it a mix-up, but the rumours are that Kags or Soyuncu has already signed a pre-agreement to go to Atletico Madrid in the summer.
Fair enough.
But from reports that were in today, apparently he was saying that his goodbyes earlier, so this might be gone a bit earlier than that. Midfield, a tricky one. Ndidi now will start automatically with Samari out. Samari was keeping him out of the team because Ndidi's form at the moment has been very, very hot and cold, and he's had a lot of injuries. Tillemans will captain the team. Definitely will start. We haven't got no creative player, so he will definitely start at the weekend. And then it's an interesting one. Who do they play in the middle of the park with them? Possibly Mendy. Papi Mendy's coming up to the end of his contract, another player out of contract in the summer. He could be a player that comes into that middle with Ndidi and Tillemans. And obviously Vardy, Barnes. I think Nacho might get a game at the weekend because Vardy can't play 2 games a week. We've seen that now. He, at the age of 34, 35, he struggles to get on the pitch for 2 games. So if Daka's fit, Daka will probably start, or they might not risk him, and Nacho will start. I got a feeling Nacho will start at the weekend against you boys.
Okay.
Left-hand side, Harvey Barnes. And then it's a toss-up. It's either, like I say, he'll play Mendy in the middle or he'll play Perez and then Albrighton out on the right. Dennis Pratt had been playing there for the last 3 games and he got a head injury against Newcastle and he got stretchered off. It just to look at the moment, we are literally down to the bare bones. The team last night, if you look at the bench at the time, we had 3 defenders on there, 4 defenders on there near enough. A defensive midfielder, a winger, and a striker. That was we were down to bare bones. Right, okay. When you think about teams with Premiership teams with 25-man squad, for a team like Leicester to be down to bare bones at the beginning of January, and I don't think Rodgers helped the situation last night. And you lot might be able to use this to your advantage, and the players might have a bit of backlash to this because Rodgers came out and basically said that his squad was too small. Now, that season said to done, but every team has got a 25-man squad. So one, that's just shot anything you've said. Yes, you can blame the injuries, but then to come out and say we've had too many games in a short period of times. And Brendan, we've just had 7 weeks off for a World Cup, mate.
Yeah, that won't wash with League Two fans either. Like I said, we're on to FA Cup game 11.
you know, you boys really could use some of these quotes to advantage in your dressing room. You know, Rodgers is saying they've had too many games in a short period of time. Well, hold on a minute. There's League Two clubs that are playing Saturday, Monday, or Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday through the whole year once they get.
Just working it out. You played 21 games this season. Leicester City. Gills have played 34.
That's what I mean. So to say, you know, this is what bugs Leicester fans. He's come out with these silly comments, and you just think, Brendan, just put your hand up and go, like after the Newcastle game when he came out, we weren't good enough. That's all we want to hear.
Yeah, sure.
Don't give me the wishy-washy with all these silly like, oh, we haven't got a big enough squad. Well, you have got a big enough squad because you choose 25 players for that squad. So yes, you've got 9 injuries. That can't be helped. You know, it's one of those things. So you can say, yes, the 9 injuries are hampering our progress. Leicester fans won't remember that. Say the squad's not big enough. Well, you pick the squad and you've left players out who, you know, what you got to understand as well. Brendan's all about trust in his team. And at the moment in time, there's players like Papi Mendy, Kalidou Soyuncu, Vestergaard, Iheanacho, who, you know, a couple of years ago, we went on a magical run and scored stupid goals from January to the end of the season to win it, get us into the FA Cup final. Doesn't trust them. Does not trust them to put them on the part and play the way that Leicester play now under Brendan Rodgers. And it's hard to like sit there as a fan and not think, well, you signed Vestergaard. You know what Mendy can do when he can play well. Mendy, you know, this is an Senegalese international who played in every game of the World Cup for Senegal, but you won't trust him to play in the Premier League. You know, Soyuncu 2 years ago was the next best thing coming out, you know, centre half. He was going to Man City, was linked with Real Madrid, £50 million we're talking. You've shot his confidence. Last season was the biggest thing he ever did, where he came out after the game and basically criticised one player on his own after the Tottenham thing. He said, well, it's Soyuncu not bottled the challenge and gone through his man, we would have got something from the game. He chucked it all on one player. And this is where Leicester fans are very hot and cold now with Brendan, because yes, we went on a run and we pulled away and Top was happy about that, the chairman. But on the other side, now we're back to square one again. To lose 3 games in a row and players sort of getting blamed again, it's going back a sour taste to Leicester fans now. So if I was a Gillingham fan, I'd be very, very optimistic going into this game, guy. I'm serious about it, because I think
you haven't watched us play all season.
Yeah, Leicester fans. Well, I watched in the last round of the cup because obviously we knew we could get you boys.
Yeah, because that was on BBC Three, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I wanted to know who we were going to get and see what you like. And it was a good game that night. It's a really good game.
That was one of our better ones. That was 3-2, I think, last minute winner. You can't beat a last minute winner. So, I suppose I better do the Gills team before I let you do your score prediction. Obviously, we're recording on a Wednesday night, so I think the press conference for the teams will be on the Thursday. So there's nothing official yet, but we won't have Ben Reeves. He looks like he's done something serious to a knee or an ankle. Haji Minoga will be going back to Portsmouth. He's barely played. Question marks over Ryan Law, whether he's going to still go back to Plymouth. Lewis Walker is the one who got the whack in the FA Cup game that you watched on the telly for the red card. He's not played since, unfortunately. Jordan Green's rumoured to have had a falling out with the assistant manager at Sutton last week, so he might not be available. Elkan Baggett's a doubt, who've had on loan from Ipswich. He's been half decent centre half. Tom Nichols is cup tied, who just signed. So for me, the team I would pick, I'm toying between going for an old-fashioned 4-4-2 and just having a right go, or a 4-2-3-1, because that's fashionable. Goalkeeper Glenn Morris, who I've already mentioned. My back four would be Robbie McKenzie, Will Wright, Maxima, and David Tatonda. I would then, depending on the fitness of Ollie Lee, and similar on a much lower level, obviously, to what you've said about James Maddison, we've got a player called Ollie Lee who's very good at the level, plays in a number 10 role, links midfield to attack, but he's had issues this season. We're not sure what it is. There's been talk of an injury, but it's been referred to as a medical issue, so we're not sure if it's mental health or just general health or something like that. So obviously, first and foremost, we wish Ollie Lee well, but if he's fit, I'd play him, because he needs to get minutes if he's going to have an impact in the second half of the season. So I'd go Stuart O'Keefe and Dom Jeffries sitting, Ollie Lee in the 10. I'd then put Pace out wide, so I'd go Hakiba Delacoon, scorer of the last minute winner in the last round, and Callum Harriott, and I'd play Scott Cashkit up front. If Ollie Lee can't start, then I'd probably go with Mika Mandron, who it'd be like a 4-4-2, big man, little man partnership up top. Last question before I let you go is the dreaded score prediction.
Oh, God. I'm dreading this. I should be positive because you were positive. Look, if Leicester turn up as we did against MK Dons and we play how we did against them, even though the form in the league's not been great, if we play how we did against MK Dons, and I feel that we could go 3-0 and cruise into the next round. If you boys do what I think you boys can do, and if you pressure us and you get in our faces from the start, it could be a very long afternoon. And that's one thing I could say to you boys. If I said to anything to your players now is get at them, get at that team, get at Leicester from the start, chase them down, don't give them any time on the ball. Yes, you might knock yourselves out, but you've got subs. Get in our faces, because as we saw last night against Fulham, when they were doing that to us, we panicked and we were giving the ball away left, right and centre in dangerous positions. And I think any team that's come to the King Power, or we've played away from, anyone that's really charged at us from the start, we've panicked and we've given soft goals away. So yeah, it's the Leicester team against MK Dons. Brilliant. Cruise the next round 3-0 win. If it's the games, the team that played in Fulham, well, first half against Fulham and the one against Newcastle, then it could be a bit of a cut upset on the card for me. Really could be for you boys. So as much as your league form hasn't been great, be optimistic going into this cup game, because I mean, as a Leicester fan, I'm really nervous actually going into this game because of the last 3 performances. And I think, and I hope we get a reaction. That's all I can hope for, is that we get a reaction now after this 3 poor games from since the World Cup, that we get some kind of big reaction going into it. Because obviously, I'll say 4 games, because obviously we played MK Dons after the World Cup as well. But we need a big reaction now, because if we don't, going into Newcastle away in the cup on Tuesday night, it could be a long couple of days and then playing Forest. So I'll go for a 3-0 Leicester win, and the optimistic approach, let's put it that way.
No, that's fine. And like we said earlier in the show, it's if Leicester turn up and play anywhere near their best and we play near our best, then Leicester should win comfortably. But Gills fans, if we do get in their face and we can manage to sign Callum Wilson or Alexander Mitrovic in the next 12 hours, then we've got a chance. So we'll see what happens. I'm going 3-1 Leicester. I'm going to back Gills to score, to be positive, because we've had a go in the cup games generally, and it's a free swing for us. We've got absolutely nothing to lose. But I think Leicester will ultimately. You talk about them injuries, but then you're still naming plenty of really good players. It's terrifying from a Gills fan's perspective. But I'm going to say 3-1 Leicester. But I think it'll be a really good cup game. The ground's going to be sold out, which is brilliant. We've not had a full house since West Ham in the cup 3 years ago now, before the world changed and COVID hit. So should be a good atmosphere. That away stand's not changed at all since you last came down, unfortunately. So you can all enjoy that.
Please don't rain. Please don't rain. I remember that last time.
It's horrible. It's really, really horrible. But Tom, really appreciate you coming on. It's been great fun.
No problem. Thanks for having us, guys. Much appreciated.
No worries. Gills fans, you know where we are. We are on Twitter. We are on YouTube, of course. So get commenting down below if you're a Leicester fan or a Gills fan. Let us know what you think the team will be. Tom's disappeared, unfortunately. But yeah, like I said, I'll put Tom's details in the description at the bottom. And we shall be back. I'll be on my own this week, flying solo in the Medway stand for a match day live. But enjoy the rest of your week. Until next time, up the Gills.